of the D&G Podcast. As usual, I'm joined by co-host Hit Grim, aka John, and I am your other co-host, Devious, aka Tyler. Today we're going to be talking about some kind of new, kind of old news that everybody in the community tends to know about now. We're going to be talking about Hex's move from Optic Gaming to NRG. We're also going to be talking about the current Optic roster, what we think it's going to be for the Modern Warfare season, and potentially we'll throw in some other things. It's kind of planned, kind of not, as per usual. Let's get into it. John, do you have a first point that you'd like to hit on this?
Yes, I do. With Hex leaving to go to NRG, okay, do you think... Did you watch his YouTube video on it?
Partially.
What do you think? Do you think he carried it out the right way by silently going out and then revealing that he joined NRG in his video?
Yes.
Or do you think he should have, gave a little bit more hint to the community?
I think he did it in the only way Hex knows how, in the true OG fashion. Build up the suspense, let everyone keep guessing, and then just drop a bomb on the community and see how it reacts. That's true Hex fashion.
And I think he did it the correct way. I don't think he did it in a horrible way at all, because I was reading the comments and there were just so many people that were happy for him, ready to join him. Like at the end of the video, he was just talking, and then all of a sudden he puts on the sweatshirt and just reveals that he had joined NRG, and it was really actually really cool. I thought it was awesome.
I think he did the right move. To be honest, I'm always gonna follow the Optic brand. You know probably better than anybody because of our Optic FaZe rivalry in the past. I'm a diehard OG fan.
Yeah,
I have been for a very long time. Does that mean that I'm not gonna like Hex now because he left Optic? No, not in the slightest bit. I have the utmost respect for Hex, just for what he did. That man is probably one of the sole reasons that I got into competitive Call of Duty, because of the dynasty that he created. And I don't think a single person has the right to, or really can, take that away from him. That he is probably one of the biggest names in esports history.
He will be. Now, I tweeted out a tweet yesterday asking people their thoughts on him leaving, joining NRG, and all of that. I got a couple responses, and one of them was he didn't want to go anywhere where there was a big COD presence. He wanted to build something from the ground up, just like he did in Optic Gaming. And as we know, NRG does not have a COD team.
Yet.
Do you think that he is the perfect match to start a competitive Call of Duty team for NRG?
Yes. If anybody can do it, it would be Hex. He's already done it once in a truly successful fashion in the way of Optic Gaming. Why not? Why not go ahead and do it again? You already were successful with it once. You've set up a dynasty that will always be remembered in the esports, not even just the Call of Duty, the esports community, which I don't think people truly understand how hard that is in a way. Like he said, he used to work, I think it was FedEx or something, some delivery company. He used to work for one of those companies, and then he risked it all to do Optic Gaming, and look at the reward that he got back from that.
Request acknowledged.
A lot. And I think that he is going to do the same exact thing with NRG that he did with Optic. He's going to literally build the team from the ground up. And another thing I was wondering is, what else do you think that he brings a great presence in other games other than just Call of Duty? Like, for like CS:GO or
Yes.
Gears of War, because that's what Optic was really known for, its Gears of War team as well, not just its COD team.
Well, even if you take away the Call of Duty team, the Gears of War team, all that, you still had the Halo team, which has gone on to be what, world champions 2 years in a row. Maybe not under the same org, but you know, probably one of the most dominant Halo teams we've seen in a while. Now,
I agree.
do I think that Hex is as big of a presence? Yeah, I think Hex is a big presence on any esports that he walks in, just because of the mental attitude and the presence that he brings into a team. Do I think he'll be successful in NRG? Absolutely, if they let him do it his own way. Because Hex is like your Slayer in Call of Duty. You can't sit there and tell them what to do. You can't tell them what routes to run. You just have to sit there and try and push them in the right direction. And if they succeed, they succeed. Hex is a very persistent person, though, so we know he'll try, and he'll try again until he succeeds. And he always does it in the right way. He doesn't think he doesn't think solely about the team. He thinks about the community around the team and how his decision is going to affect that team.
Agreed. But how long do you think this Call of Duty team is going to take to establish? How many years? Do you think it takes one season? Do you think he'll have it ready to go in the beginning of Modern Warfare? How do you think how long is it going to take him to do this, do you think?
In my opinion, it depends all on how quickly him and NRG come to an agreement on everything. Whether that's already been established, I don't know. I don't know if anybody else knows. But from the knowledge that I have, I think it could potentially be halfway through the season. Then they get a Call of Duty team. Whether they wait till the next COD, I'm not too certain about that. Only time will tell us on that aspect of the of NRG and Hex as a future.
Well, I think one of the more important things that we need to discover about the competitive Call of Duty here is how many people is it going to be? Is it going to be a 4v4? Is it going to be a 5v5? Because technically you cannot build a roster unless you know. Because like you had mentioned to me earlier, suppose you signed 5 people and it's only a 4v4. So do you think that us not knowing if it's going to be a 4v4 or 5v5 going to affect the time in which they're able to establish their team? Because we probably won't know until the game drops, or a little bit before.
Yeah, we probably won't know for a bit, because we found out like the first 2-3 weeks into Black Ops 4. And that's the latest that, mind you, it was the first time that it was rumored that it could change, but that rumor's not really going around. So, does it stay 4v4, or does it stay 5v5? Does it go back to the original 4v4? Who knows? To be honest, I think this game plays too slow to have 4 people on a map. I think 5v5 gives you the right amount of action all around the map. I don't think you can go wrong with that.
I don't think that they'll just do 1 year of 5v5. I think they were looking for a change in the competitive scene, and the 5v5 that they incorporated in Black Ops 4, I think they're going to continue that in the future. So I don't doubt that it will be a 5v5 this year. So I think they should anticipate it being a 5v5 and start looking for those 5 players now, because roster mania is currently going on, and players are shuffling all around teams, and now would be the perfect time to snag the players that they need to form this team. And if it was me looking for a team, I'd want to join a new team that was looking for a Call of Duty team. Look at 100 Thieves. They established their Call of Duty team this past year and picked up 5 solid players, and those 5 players, not only did they join because it was an organization that Nadeshot ran, but I felt like they wanted a new team to play for that was just being introduced into the Call of Duty scene, and I think that's where
like a fresh start.
Yeah, like NRG is a fresh start for some people, And, maybe some of the players that are a little washed up or aren't as popular anymore, this might be their chance to get back into the competitive scene. Also something to think about.
There's
And
issues with it though.
what do you mean? Elaborate.
Like it's harder for someone, like for a team that has just started with no background, no knowledge in the Call of Duty community, no presence. It's harder for them
Right.
to build that fan base and to get to where they want to go, and it takes time. The only reason Optic was so successful is because Hex took the time and the dedication to do it.
Now, I'm going to rewind back to 100 Thieves again. 100 Thieves entered into the competitive scene in Black Ops 3. Okay, he established 100 Thieves, and he immediately wanted a Call of Duty team. He picked up 5 players, but
4.
they picked up 4. But they picked up these players, and their Call of Duty team did not last the entire Black Ops 3 season.
And they didn't really take their season seriously, which I thought was a little insulting to the teams that they played against, but,
Exactly, but do you think that if NRG rushes things and grabs for people just to have a team, do you think that they're going to run into the same exact issue that 100 Thieves ran into? They just picked up 4 players, threw a team together just so they could have their presence in that Call of Duty that year.
No, I don't think they do. Why? Hex has done it once before. I don't think it'll be an issue for him to do it again. I think he'll have
Alright.
no problems, because think about it like this. When you make one mistake, do you tend to make that mistake again? I mean, yeah, some people do. Some people do. Sorry, my
not when you're
dog's going
Hex.
nuts.
Not when you're Hex, though.
No, not when you're Hex. It's fucking Hex.
So you think that he will not run into the same problems that 100 Thieves did, and that he will have a successful team coming into the year. I don't think that it's going to be like a top-notch team, but if he picks the right people, I mean, they could certainly put up a good fight against teams, because 100 Thieves did it this year too. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he's going to do with what he can run with player-wise, and if they can put up a fight against the Optic roster, the FaZe roster, all the dominant teams that were in Call of Duty this year. So it's going to be interesting, in my opinion.
I do agree.
Do you want to move on, or do you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm
As
pretty
far as,
good from that point on.
All right, let's step into the next subject of the stream, and that would be the Optic roster.
Yes.
Now, we've been hearing a lot of things on Twitter.
Yes.
Crim6, just a ton of people. I think Scump's been pretty quiet about the situation, but Crim6 has been very vocal in what has happened as far as how he was forced out of the Optic team and he's a free agent and all this other bullshit. I don't really care what happened to Crim6. I don't care if he was pushed out, because that's not the issue. But I want to talk about who is going to be on this roster this year. I mean, they're telling us that they're keeping Scump, they're keeping Dashy, and they're keeping TJ.
Well, yeah, that's what it sounds like so far. And to be honest, it hasn't even just been like Charlie Intel and all that stuff that's making the community think that Formal is going to be on the next spot for the Call of Duty roster. It's Formal. When you look at all of Formal's recent tweets for his streams and stuff like that, before it used to be tweets of him in the LG jersey. What?
I don't follow him, but keep going. I'm going.
It used to be a bunch of shit about him with the LG jersey, or just him. Now he's been focusing on pictures of him, Scump, the Optic roster when they went on their world famous championship run at COD Champs 2017.
Yes, I'm looking at that picture right now. He tweeted out the 12th when he went to stream.
Yeah, it is all Scump all Formal, and that's what leads us to believe that Formal will be taking Crimsix's spot. Now, we already know that the three-time, the one and only Damon Karma Barlow has already said that he will not be teaming with Crimsix. Whether that leads us to believe he is staying on Optic Gaming or he is choosing to go his separate way, I haven't looked too much into Karma. Right now I've been focused on Crimsix and Scump, seeing as they were my two favorite players on Optic. But if Damon stays, do you think, or if he hasn't decided to leave yet, do you think it's a smart decision for Optic to try and get rid of him? Or Immortals, as we should call them now? Nah, well, fuck that, I'm sticking with Optic.
Well, as we... last year, or actually I think it was this year, wasn't Karma retiring? Or was that the end of World War II that he wanted to retire? I can't remember.
In World War II, I don't know if he wanted... I know it was talked about highly, but I think majority of it was just because Optic sat him out for the entire year. Was it a smart move on Optic? Fuck no, you never sit down who was the only two-time... well, he wasn't the only two-time, but you get the gist.
I think he was actually their star for World War II, in the beginning of World War II.
Yeah, I think he was too. But the reason Karma's a star player, he doesn't really have those games where he drops those insane numbers. He is the clutch factor. Him and Crimsix were their top clutch players. I mean, obviously in the 2019 season, you get the addition of Bashy and TJ Haley, known as the Iceman, but when it comes to those clutch factors where you need the experienced players, Crim and Karma stepped up.
I agree with you. And will Karma stay will stay with Optic?
Probably not.
I don't think he will. I don't think he is. Could he be going his separate ways? Possibly. Could he be retiring? Possibly. But we can't really tell. We won't know this information until closer to when Modern Warfare drops.
Now, do you think he'd be a successful YouTuber? Or streamer?
Like I explained to you, when it was just you and I talking last week, there are only a certain amount of professional Call of Duty players that are able to be professional Call of Duty players and content/streamers, okay? There are very few of them that can balance both of that. And do I think Karma can be a streamer now that he would be retiring or whatever? I think he could be, just because of the mere fact of the amount of people that like him and followed him throughout his professional career. Could he be a streamer? Absolutely. Could he? I don't know if he could be a YouTuber. I don't see him being able to do that, but as a streamer, absolutely, because who doesn't like watching him play?
This is true.
I think if he retired, he could most certainly be a streamer. Content creator, I don't think so. But that's just my opinion, knowing his background and what he's done in his career. A streamer, absolutely. But it takes a different breed of person to be a content creator on YouTube.
And I agree. To be honest, I don't think that he'll be as successful at YouTube as he was as a Call of Duty professional. Obviously, three Call of Duty World Championships is a huge accomplishment, regardless of which esport you look at. But, it's kind of hard to carry that success over into a different aspect.
Exactly. But he's also made enough money to where, he could just do it as a hobby. He doesn't really need to do it to make a living after his professional career. But we're getting a little off topic, so let's get
reel
right
it back
into back into the Optic roster. If they sign Formal as the fourth, okay, and we have a 5v5 this year, who could they look for to replace Karma? Because obviously Formal's replacing Crimsix, so who would be replacing Karma?
I think Octane would be probably one of your best bets as a free agent right now, as far as I know. Let me double check this really quick
Yeah,
to make sure I'm not just talking out my ass here.
Because he still has his Twitter as 100 Thieves, as well as his pictures on Instagram, and yeah, hold on.
Well, to be fair, I wouldn't change that.
He changed it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. The only thing that mentions 100 Thieves is his background. It's not in his bio. It's not in his name. So potentially he could be a free agent. I think the entire team right now is free agents.
I think he is.
They've already announced that they're not having a Call of Duty team. So why would these players stick around? Now, do you think Octane would want to come back after they dropped him last year in World War II? He didn't even make it a full season. Oh, he made it to a half of a season because he played through the rest of the year. Do you think he'll want to come back to Optic for a second round with them?
Yes.
Why?
And here,
What makes this different than the last run?
Nothing would make it different. Not a single thing. But as a Call of Duty competitor, what's your biggest goal? Because in my opinion, your biggest goal at that point is to compete. It doesn't matter what team you're under. You just want to compete. And
exactly.
I think that'll be enough. I honestly do. I don't think there's a single thing that if Scump, Dashy, Formal, and TJ reached out to Octane and were like, "Hey, come team with us," I don't think he'd say no.
Let's expand on Octane a little bit here.
Okay.
I've told you this before, and I stand by what I say. I think Octane is by far one of the best AR players in the game, without a doubt. Okay?
I agree.
In my opinion, he also carried that 100 Thieves team the entire year. That's just how I feel, because he was just dominant in everything that he did. Okay, the amount that he accomplished compared to Optic Gaming this year. Do you think that he will keep his options open to see if other teams are going to grab him, or do you just go right to the first team that probably wants to recruit you? Because when you're talking about Octane, with the caliber that he brings to a Call of Duty team, if I was him, I'd keep my options open. I wouldn't just sign with Optic, and especially with what's going on in their organization right now, I don't think that I would personally want to sign with them. I wouldn't want all that drama. I wouldn't want to have on my mind every single day if this team's going to be alive in the future, or if it's going to be dead, or if it's going to have the same fans that it did in the previous Call of Duties. If I was him, I'd wait to see what teams would scoop him up other than just Optic.
Well, now what it comes down to with the fan base of what was Optic is now Immortals is, are the fans going to follow Hex, which I do think a good portion of them will. That's not a bad thing for the fans. Your loyalties lie with Hex. That's great. I honestly think he deserves it. He's put in the work, so why not? Mm-hmm. But you also have Scump with a big fan base. You have Dashy now with a big fan base, being is probably one of the top 3 players in the Black Ops season. He was always a talented player, even when he walked in World War II. He was always a talented player, and nobody denied that. Do you walk into a team with that fan base already? Absolutely. It can only profit you having other viewers that haven't seen you before, because a lot of new people walked into the Black Ops 4 season. The numbers went up of streamers. It wasn't the most popular game, it wasn't the best by any means, but the numbers did go up just because of the competitive aspect of this year. So bringing new followers, new viewers to Octane, to Formal, it can't hurt. Even if you don't join to win, you could join to grow your own name. There's no downfall to that whatsoever.
I agree with that statement. But is there anyone else that could potentially replace Karma other than just Octane?
Potentially Kenny. Potentially. The thing is, Karma was a really good flex. You could put anything in that man's hands and he would perform. Octane the same way.
Yeah.
Simp was a monster.
Yeah, he was, especially as a rookie this year.
Yeah. But do I think there's very many other players? No. If you're looking for an AR role,
No.
maybe Slasher, maybe accuracy. Who knows?
Slasher, yeah. Slasher would be a good choice.
Slasher would. I think the three people that brought 100 Thieves to that second place victory at Champs this year were Slasher, Octane, and Simp. Don't at me.
I agree with that.
Don't at me.
All right, another thing I wanted to talk about. You and I have talked about this before.
Okay.
Dashie. I want to talk about Dashie real quick. Do you think Dashie is going to be able to repeat the year that he just had this year in Modern Warfare? He's always been a good player. I think this year is probably his most standout year, and he carried
Easily.
Optic in its first tournament victory. There's no doubt about that. But do you think that he's going to be able to keep that progress he made in Modern Warfare? Like, is he going to be able to carry that over?
If he keeps the momentum and the dedication up, yeah. But that's also going to be a really hard thing to do when you come so close to your first chance, your first because they were within arm's reach of that world championship title, the final one, and they just showed up slow on championship Sunday. That's a huge brick wall. That's like a transport just hitting you in a smart car. All momentum's gonna stop, and it's gonna push you back. It will. There's no denying it. That's gonna be a tough obstacle to overcome, mentally. Do I think he has the ability to overcome it? Absolutely. I think he's a very persistent player, and if he puts in the work that he did this past year, absolutely, he could be one of the top players yet again. He could be that star, that phenom that we know him to be.
I happen to agree with you, and I hope for Optic's sake he's able to do that, because there's going to be a lot of issues if he's not able to carry this over into Modern Warfare, as well as TJ. You know, those two are brand new this year.
Yeah.
To the Optic team, and I think TJ, he had his ups and his downs, his slow tournaments, but he did persevere through them, and he did make some great plays, and he did turn out to be a great fit for the Optic team, as well as Dashie. I hope both of them can carry this over into next year and keep the Optic name alive, as well as Scump, and I hope if it's a 5v5 that they choose the right fifth player to join them in the Call of Duty season. Because if things don't go the way that they need them to go, I think Optic's going to be looking at a lot of lost fans this year. Especially with all the changes, Hex leaving, like we had just talked about. I just feel with the amount of things that have changed from the end, or kind of almost in the a little bit over halfway through the Black Ops 4 season to today, it's just so much has changed. I don't want to see Optic die off and its fans die off as well. I want to see them continue this, because then I have nobody to talk about when FaZe plays them.
True.
You know, FaZe and Optic have been one of the biggest rivalries in Call of Duty history, and I want to see that. I want to see that stay. I want to see it stay alive and continue.
True. Do I think the fan base will drop? No. No, not at all. Like, how many? 1 minute. Let's take a look at this. How many followers does Scump have?
2 or 3. I think it's 2 million.
Let's see how many followers. 2.1 million.
2.1 million.
Okay. Now if you go to the Optic Gaming one,
I think it has over 1 million. I think. Optic Gaming, 3 million. Actually,
3.3 million.
Yeah, they have more.
Optic's fan base may drop a little bit. Do I think it absolutely depletes? Not a chance, just simply due to the fact of the fan base of the players. Because a lot of people, they don't sit there and pick the team because of the name and shit like that. I think they pick it because of the players and the shit that the players bring to the community.
But what do you think happens to that fan base if Scump left? If Scump was, if this was his last, let's say he leaves halfway through, something happens and he leaves. What do you think happens to that fan base though? Because
then I think you find out who the true Optic fans are.
But you're right there. But are a lot of people Optic fans because Scump is on the team? Are they Scump fans or are they Optic fans?
Well, no, because there's Optic fans that have been out there, and they've been Optic fans way before Scump was even on the team. Like, look back in Black Ops 1. Scump wasn't on Optic, he was on Leverage.
That's true.
So, Optic fans will always be Optic fans. Even though Optic isn't a thing anymore, there's no more Optic. As far as we know, if Optic stays Optic in Call of Duty, I'm happy. I'm happy. Because then you have not completely gotten rid of a dynasty. You haven't. Whether the players leave, the dynasty will always be the same.
Well, we'll find out in the future. Like I said, I hope it works out for Optic. As much as I don't like them that much, and I'm not their biggest fan. I'm still a human, and I love watching Call of Duty.
See,
and I don't want to see them just.
Here's how I look at it. I don't think that you have your opinion on Optic because you're an Optic fan. I think it's just natural for you. You are a FaZe fan. You always have been for Call of Duty. I think it's not a hatred or a dislike towards Optic. It's just that's your team's rival. That's like me with hockey. I like the Vancouver Canucks. I fucking hate the Boston Bruins because they always beat out my Canucks. Same with the Chicago Blackhawks. It's not any distaste towards the team or the company that owns them. It's just, that's my rivalry. I'm bred to not like them.
Well, I agree with you on that one.
I have one more topic that I'd like to get into before we wrap this up, unless you come up with anything after this. Scump. I've heard a lot of people talk about him being washed up, that he needs to retire, his time is done, and obviously he's not in his prime, but I think he still has enough skill to compete at that level. But I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of rumor going around that he was retiring this year, especially with everything in the transitions that was happening with Optic. But when he went on the Nade Shot and Courage show, he reassured everybody that he was not retiring.
Yeah.
I think, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. A lot of people probably hate me for saying this, but I don't think he's washed up, but I think his skill level has dropped ever since Infinite Warfare. I think World War II, they had a really bad year, and I think it got to him a little bit, and he fell off a little bit. And yeah, granted, they won the first tournament in Black Ops 4, but they didn't win anything after that. And I feel that his skill level has declined since winning champs in Infinite Warfare. Still a very good player. I have nothing against him, and I don't think he's terrible, but I think that his skill level is declining every year. He's not the same Scump that he was in previous years. He's not at the top of his game anymore. But he's not washed up.
True.
No, absolutely not.
In my opinion, he's also an improved Scump in some manners. Like, if you think about it, Scump back in the day, if you said some shit about him, he'd straight up go on Twitter and put you on blast. He didn't care. And I think that was the thing that a lot of people liked about Scump. Now you have a more, let's be business professional, let's, a little bit more of a laid-back Scump. Do I think he's still the king? Absolutely. I don't think there's another Call of Duty player on the planet right now that deserves to take that title of the king away from him.
No, and here's another thing I want to say about him is I also don't think he's as passionate as he was. You know, very rarely do you see him getting up at a tournament and screaming and yelling like he used to after he made some kind of awesome play. I don't think he has the energy that he brought to the team like he did in Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 2, Ghost. I know AW was a bad year because that was the year Nadeshot retired after Champs. But Infinite Warfare, Infinite Warfare was probably the last year that Scump was the old Scump.
Well,
the energy was there.
He was standing up, screaming in this COD. It didn't happen very many events, but the events that Optic made it to I wouldn't say a good placing, because unfortunately we all know they didn't have very many good placings. Actually, no, they didn't have very many bad ones either. It was more of like you know, it was an okay year. I wouldn't say it was a good one. I wouldn't say it was a bad one. It was an okay year. But
it was better than World War II.
By far. I'm just gonna act like World War II didn't happen. But anyways, besides the point. Do you think the reason that he's not as passionate do you think it's because we haven't had a very good Call of Duty in a long time? Or do you think it's potentially because of, like, he's just not that passionate anymore, like, plain and simple?
Well, I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with this, but I think a lot of his decline in all this has been from Nadeshot retiring and no longer on the team. Those were, when you think about an iconic duo in Call of Duty history, you always think about Scump and Nadeshot. And I think that ever since he left, he hasn't been the same Scump that he was. He's still a passionate player. It's just I don't see that passion that he had when he was younger. But he's
like back in Black Ops 2.
Yeah, but as Scump, you've done it all, man. You've won tournaments, you've won COD champs. You have everything that you have every achievement that you can do as a Call of Duty player.
Yeah, okay.
What more does he have to strive for? What more is there for him to do other than win another COD champ? He's already written down as one of the best player in the world in his position. I mean, does he need more COD champs to prove more about himself, like that he is the best player? Does he need more championships? I don't think so. He's done everything that he needs to do. So I can see why he's been declining, because there's nothing to push and strive for. You know?
Yeah, I get it. And it's a fair point that you bring up. I think in true Scump fashion, it'll never be enough for him. Just because he was probably one of the most sought-after players in COD at one point. If back in the day, if you were a team and you didn't want Scump, you were stupid. You know?
To say the least.
You're probably letting one of the best players go, and I think that was one of Envy's biggest downfalls. They didn't give him enough to make him want to stay there over going back to Optic Gaming. Is that their fault? Probably not. It's probably Optic. Just doing Optic things. They couldn't
afford what Optic could, though, if you think about it.
I mean, that's another fair point. But, yeah, this podcast has just been everywhere, and to be honest, I'm okay with it.
No, but you and I went into this one saying that we were going to talk about the Optic roster, and we were going to talk about Hex, and we're still talking about the Optic roster, just in each individual.
True. Now,
so, I think we hit on just about everything we could. Do you have anything else you want to add before we end it?
Well, we'll just deal with this one aspect of the question, not really jump into the other continuous parts of it like we did with Scump. Crim 6. Time to retire? Yes or no?
No.
No?
He's got a chip on his shoulder now.
Oh, after getting dropped?
He's got some fire in him now.
So you think this entire season's just going to be to, like, prove himself?
I think my true answer is I think the same thing that happened to Formal is going to happen to Crimsix. He's going to join a team and he's just not going to have a good year. Because Formal, let's be honest, Formal had a terrible year for Black Ops 4. His team was all over the place. Nobody was passionate. Nobody won. Yeah, they won one event. They got very lucky that event, in my opinion. I just think he's going to join a low-tier team and just going to be assumed to be washed up like Formal was. Everybody thought Formal was washed up after he joined LG.
It's rumored. I'm just gonna say this quickly, and then we can wrap this up. It's rumored that Krim is gonna be teaming with Zuma. It's rumored, not confirmed.
I would love to see that because I think FaZe they dropped what's his face Scraps. Now. I don't know their full roster yet. They dropped Scraps. I don't know if they dropped Zero because they had to make room for Attach to come back. So I mean, if Crimsix goes to FaZe, I mean, is that going to be a fire for FaZe? Absolutely.
I think that's going to be an intensity that FaZe needed.
Yeah, but we'll save that for another video because I don't want to get into that in this podcast.
Alright, so do you want me to sign this off like last time, or would you like to take it on this one? Alright. Alright guys, so thank you. If you did tune in to the D&G Podcast, I do appreciate it. If you missed it, go ahead and check it out on YouTube at I Am King Devious, or Grim, go ahead and plug your YouTube channel.
Mine would be Hit Grim as well, so you can check either one of us out.
Alright, if you did enjoy the video, guys, don't forget to drop a like on it. Comment any future topics that you would like us to discuss on the D&G Podcast. Or, if you want us to bring in someone else to shed an opinion, to throw an opinion out there, go ahead, drop the name down. We'll definitely see what we can do. Obviously, there is limitations on who we can bring on. But, yeah. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channels. Also, if you want to watch us stream, if you do like our gameplays that you see on our channels, my Twitch is I Am King Devious, and for Grim over here, it is the same as his YouTube channel. It is Hit Grim. As per usual, guys, that's it for me today. I'm out. Peace.
Peace.